Hi, you three. Welcome to our next lesson in our RE learning for this term. So we're going to be thinking about this question today: why are festivals important to religious communities? So in our third lesson, let's start with our knowing more and remembering more. Question 1, what is the name of the Christian holy book? Question 2, what is the Sunday before Easter known as? Question 3, the Easter story is about Jesus's birth. True or false? Pause the video if you need some time. Once you've done it, make sure you have a different color pen or pencil so you can tick and fix your answers, which are coming up now. So the Christian holy book is called the Bible. The Sunday before Easter is Palm Sunday, and false, the Easter story is not about Jesus's birth. That is what? What festival is that? Well done if you said Christmas. Okay, let's have a look at our learning objective and our success criteria for today. So our objective is to describe the Last Supper and understand the reasons for it. And to be successful, we can retell the story. We can make connections between the symbols used in the church services today and the Bible story. You can understand that there are different representations of the Last Supper. So people will draw it, they'll do it in different artistic ways. And your challenge for today is that you can explore and suggest ideas about what is worth celebrating and remembering in religious communities and your own life. So starting to make the link between religion and your beliefs. So vocabulary will do my turn, your turn. Please remember to join in. Festival, worship, Holy Week, Maundy Thursday, the Last Supper, sacrifice, communion. There we go. So we're going to think about the Last Supper, but why is it called that? Well, if we think about it, it was before Jesus was crucified and it was the last night. So it was the day before, it was just before Jesus was going to die, and he knew that. So that's why it's known as the Last Supper, because it was the Last Supper or dinner that he had. And this is a really famous painting, which is, you can go and see if we get to travel again when we go to Italy, and it's Leonardo da Vinci. And it's his interpretation, his representation, his way of showing the Last Supper. And we can see, who do we think this could be in the middle? And who do we think these people are? Okay, so that's one way of showing it. And Jesus gathered his friends, known as his disciples, they were his followers, for one last meal on the evening before his death. And this is known as Maundy Thursday. And then he would have died on which day? So that's why it's called the Last Supper, because it was on the evening before he died. So we're going to watch a video now about the Last Supper, and I'm going to watch it, just play it through for you. It says up here, watch the video of the Last Supper, pause it and make notes of the key events. So I will play it once, and then you can go back and pause it if you need to a second time. So what are the key things that you notice that happen in this video? If you want the link so you can watch it yourself, here it is. You can just copy and paste that into your internet browser. So eyes peeled, ears switched on, let's go.
The year was AD 33, and it was the first day of Passover, which is also called the Festival of Unleavened Bread. Jesus called for his disciples.
Peter, John, I want you to go ahead to the city and prepare for the Passover feast.
Prepare for the feast? But Master, how will we know where to go?
You do not have to worry about that. Go to Jerusalem and you will find a man carrying a water jar. Keep following him till he enters a house. You have to then go to the owner of the house and ask him to take you to a large room upstairs where you'll be able to prepare the meal for the Passover feast.
Peter and John did as Jesus instructed them to do.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. How can I help you? We are here as told by Jesus. He asked us to come here and prepare for the Passover meal. Of course, sir. I was waiting for you. All followers of Jesus are always welcome. Thank you, sir. You are so kind. Please come in.
Peter and John did as Jesus instructed them to do. Later in the evening, Jesus also reached the house with the other disciples.
Ah, the feast is ready, I see. Come, let us eat.
However, Jesus was very sad to see that all his disciples wanted to sit in the best places. He called them all and made them sit down. After removing the outer garment he was wearing, and proceeded to pour water into a bowl.
What are you doing, Master?
You have all been walking on a dusty road. I'm going to wash your feet.
What? Wash my feet? Oh no, Master. I can never let you wash my feet.
If you don't let me wash your feet, you do not belong to me.
Oh, Master, please do not say that. You know I will do anything you command. But wash my feet? Please, don't put me in such an awkward situation.
If you call me master, you must obey me and let me wash your feet.
My lord, if you must, then wash my hands and head also.
You have had your bath, so you are clean. Only your feet need to be washed. Come, sit, and let me do what I have to do.
Why is our master doing this? What he is doing is quite beneath him. Shh, don't worry, my friend. I'm sure he has a good reason. Yes, I know.
After washing the feet of all his disciples, Jesus said to them,
Do you know why I washed your feet? You call me your master, and yet I washed your feet. This was meant to be a lesson for you all. Those who call themselves my followers must learn to serve and love each other, just as I have loved you.
Jesus then looked around the room at all his disciples and said slowly,
All of you are clean, except one.
His disciples looked at each other, trying to understand what their Lord was saying.
We don't understand, Master.
Jesus just stood up and looked at his disciples quietly and calmly. He knew that one of them was going to betray him to his enemies very soon.
Come, let us eat now.
As they were eating, Jesus seemed to be very quiet. So one of his disciples questioned him.
You seem to be sad today, Master. Have we done anything that has made you unhappy?
Jesus knew already that Judas had betrayed him to the high priests for the small amount of 30 pieces of silver, which was the price those days for a slave. However, he did not reveal Judas's name to the other disciples. He loved them deeply and wished to remain with them for longer. But he knew his time to go back to his Father and the time to complete his mission was near.
You are all good souls, but one among you, who is sitting here, will betray me.
The disciples were very disturbed when they heard this. Each of them wanted to know if it was him, but Jesus did not give a direct answer.
I do not know what God has decided for me, but I do know that this man will betray me.
When he said this, his disciples were even more confused and distressed.
Please, Master, tell us who the traitor is. We will not allow him to go against you. He shall be punished.
Jesus again did not reply, but picked up a piece of bread.
The Lord will take care of him. He will regret why he was ever born. Do not get agitated now. Let us eat. I thank the Lord for this bread.
Jesus then proceeded to calmly break the bread into small pieces. He dipped a small piece into a bowl and handed it to Judas. Judas accepted the morsel of bread, but could not look into Jesus' eyes. Jesus then gave the remaining pieces to the other disciples.
Come, eat. These pieces of bread are my body.
Then, picking up the wine glass, he told them,
Drink of this wine, for it is my blood. I will share this blood so that many sinners will be forgiven. When I am gone, you will remember me. The next time I share wine with you, it shall be new wine in the kingdom of heaven.
What are you saying, Master? You cannot leave us.
Though I wish to be with you all for longer, I am afraid that will not happen.
Oh no, Master, please do not say that. Wherever you go, we shall follow you.
You cannot follow me where I am going, but I will come back to take you to the kingdom of our Father.
Please, Master, please do not talk of leaving us.
Do not trouble your hearts, my dear friends, as it pains me. Just believe in God and believe in me. I will prepare a place for you in the house of our Father and then come to take you. You must have complete faith in me.
No, 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 Master, you cannot do this to us. You are our Lord and Master. How can we ever lose faith in you?
However, Jesus quietly and calmly started eating, and the others also soon followed, though they were all sad, except for Judas, who had slipped away after Jesus gave him the piece of bread.
Judas made a pact with one of the enemies of Jesus. The chief priest had announced a reward of 30 pieces of silver to anyone who would identify Jesus. When they approached Judas, he readily agreed to identify Jesus.
Let us go out to the city.
All the disciples followed Jesus. After some time, again, Jesus said something that shocked them all.
Tonight, you will all lose faith in me.
Everyone looked at Jesus in shock.
How can you even say such a thing, Master? Please do not include me in this. I will never, ever lose faith in you.
Jesus looked at him with a gentle smile.
Before the cock crows twice this night, 3 times, you will have disowned me.
Just as Jesus had said, Judas betrayed him, and the faith of his other disciples also wavered. And as Jesus had known, the time for him to go back to his Father followed soon after.
Now we've watched the video, let's have a think about some of the things that we saw. Remember, you can go back and watch it if you need to. Why did Jesus insist on washing the disciples' feet? Think back to what he told his disciples. So here is a picture, a different artistic representation, a different way of showing Jesus, who's the man in white, kneeling here, washing the feet of one of his disciples. So this was seen as a humble act, the job of a servant, not the job of the Son of God. He was telling his disciples that he wanted to serve them. He sacrificed himself for others, so he let other people benefit from what he was doing, his actions. Whoops, and I missed the last one. So thinking then, how would you show someone that you want to serve them or to help them or to sacrifice something for them? Think in your heads. Okay. What did Jesus and his disciples eat and drink? What does the food and drink represent? Also got an image here of some bread. And then what do you think this is in this cup, in this chalice? we have got some bread and some wine. So why is bread and wine important? Now, for those of you who might go to church, you may possibly know the answer to this. And if you have communion, there will be things that happen there as well. Okay, so let's think about now what happens at communion. So we're going to watch how Jesus and the Last Supper is remembered in church. As we're watching the video, remember you can pause it to make notes and to think about these questions. So you might want to write these down or take a screenshot or take a photograph of these questions. What is happening? What do the people eat, drink? And what do these symbols represent?
Jesus was going to die. Jesus knew he was going to die. In fact, he'd come to die. It's a strange thing to say. He was gathering his friends together for this one last meal, this last supper that they would have together with him. And he did it for a reason. When we have meals, sometimes we'll have meals with family and friends, people who are close to us, to remember a special occasion, like a birthday, to celebrate something, or to remember something that's happened in the past, like an anniversary, or maybe even somebody's death. And so those things that are special to us are wrapped up in that meal. Jesus used the various things that were on the table as ways of his friends remembering. They remembered his body, and he used bread as a sign and a way of remembering. He used wine as a way of remembering his blood, because he poured out blood from his wounds on the cross. And Jesus said, "Do this to remember me." These are ways that we remember today. Jesus sacrificed for us. These are ways that we remember God's love for us. These are ways that we remember God's forgiveness. We're forgiven because Jesus died for us. God has forgiven us. And so we remember that we need to forgive each other and other people who've hurt us. And it's a way of showing that we're united, that we're one community, that the differences don't matter, because God has made us one through Jesus and through his death on the cross. And so when we share communion together, we gather everyone together. Here we do it at the end of a service. And so all of the people come out of the Sunday school classes, the teachers and the children, and together we remember what Jesus did. We're remembering God loves us, God has forgiven us. We need to forgive one another. And we are one body, one community, because of what Christ has done.
So now we've watched that video, thinking about those questions. What happened? What do people eat and drink during communion? And what do those symbols represent? So now we're going to think about an occasion where you have had a special meal. Answer these questions in your book if you've got them, on your home learning pack, or even if you've got some paper. Or if you don't have any of that, you can at least think about the questions and say them out loud to help you in your learning. Why were you having this special meal? When did you have it? What food and drink did you have? And who was with you? And if you have someone at home to share with, tell them about your special meal. So perhaps, was it a birthday? Was it Christmas Eve? I know some families like have a big meal on Christmas Eve or New Year's Day. Maybe you're going to have one on Friday this evening because it's the end of term. When did you have a special meal? And think about those questions. This might be a good time to pause the video while you think about those and complete your learning. Okay, so now we're going to think a little bit about the two representations of the Last Supper. So we have two here. This one looks very much like the Leonardo da Vinci one that we looked at earlier. and we have a different one here. Your job is to choose one of them, so you might choose this one or you choose this one, then answer and complete the sentence starters which are on the next page. So you might want to pause the video on your chosen image. You might want to take a picture of it on your phone or screenshot it so you have it, and then I'll show you the sentence starters now that you need to complete. So the Leonardo da Vinci one, you have your sentence starters. My chosen title would be, so it was called The Last Supper, but what would you give it a title as? What do you think would be a relevant and interesting title? 3 good things about the picture are, if I could have asked the artist a question, it would be, I think the artist would have replied. So what was the question you'd ask? What do you think the artist would say back to you? What a Christian might say about the picture is, a member of another religion might say. So start off with those sentences and answer them, complete them by yourself. And this other one is by a person called Hans Holbein. So same questions, same sentence starters. What would your answers be? Okay, now that you have finished your questions, your sentence starters, let's just recap. What have you learned today? So we have learned that Maundy Thursday is celebrated in church to remember what? That's it, the Last Supper, Jesus' last meal with his friends, with his disciples before he died. Who betrayed Jesus? Correct, it was Judas. Why did Jesus wash his disciples' feet? To show he wanted to serve them, okay, to sacrifice. And the bread and the wine, which we have an image of here, they represent, that's it, Jesus's body and blood. Just thinking about our future learning before we end for today, we'll be thinking about Good Friday in our next lesson.